So, Mark, tell me about your new release you got out.
Let's see. Well, this month on my label Great Lakes Audio, the next release is going to be released by another Bay Area guy called Homero Espinoza. It's called the Make It Better EP, part of one of many of the great Bay Area house people, and that will be the number 17 on my release. It's going to be available on all the spots: Beatport, Juno, Stompy, Traxsource, iTunes, Amazon, and whatnot. It's similar to all the stuff I play, just good, chunky, funky San Francisco-y Chicago house. And some other stuff at the moment. Right now, I'm in my studio. Actually, I'm working on a remix for an English guy named Little Mark, English DJ producer, and that's going to be coming out for an Australian label. I don't think it's coming out in this month. I think it's probably coming out January, I want to say. And it's going to be on Bump Music. And so that's kind of what I'm banging away in the studio today.
So speaking of the studio, all of us out there that are, producing these days, what are you using back-end-wise in your studio? Are you going PC? Are you going Mac? What kind of software are VSTs?
I'm actually more old school. I'm non-software, non-VSTs, which is either good or bad. But I'm still using MIDI chords and drum machines. I personally I'm an MPC person, always have been. So when I'm using my MPC 4000, I have two of those, and 2500. I've almost have several MPCs. I like Joe Mox equipment, which they make more old school style drum machines, kind of similar to lines of original Roland type drum machines, but they're kind of updated to do a little bit more than Roland. So yeah, JOMOX is that company. I've got an X-Bass 999 by them, a couple other units. For keys, I use an EMU XL7 and MP7, which are just kind of similar to an MPC. They're more pad units as opposed to keyboards, because I like playing on little pad-style things as opposed to just on a straight flat keyboard. Another company I like is Electron. They have a thing called a machine drum, SBS1UW, which is similar to an MPC in a way, but it's just sort of a modern sampling drum machine. It gives you a lot of parameters, and I'm more of a hands-on guy. I like to have separate units, and then I just have a MIDI, and I do it direct to DAT. Sometimes I'll edit and peak, and that's about it. In terms of computer, I'm planning to integrate. I have some various software, but I just don't use it. I still use my old gear.
What's your favorite drum machine of all time?
Favorite drum machine? I'd still say the MPC is considered a drum machine. The MPC, any of the MPC units. I still love those. Just the way you can. I like to use all kinds of different sounds for percussion, and with that you can, make claps out of words, and I don't know, you can sample anything. And I like the usage of the pads and the touch of the pads on an MPC system.
Wow.
The other thing I'm waiting for, I just ordered a new drum machine. It's actually supposed to come today that I'm really excited. It's called the Tempest by Dave Smith and Roger Lynn. It's one of the newest drum machines out there. It just shipped recently, so I'm very excited to use that. I'm hoping it's going to come today so I can incorporate it into my remix. But yeah, it's called the Tempest, and it's Dave Smith Instruments and Roger Lynn, who was one of the forefathers of drum machines in general, made this new piece of equipment, and I'm really excited about it. I haven't seen it in person yet. I've only checked out different YouTube things, but it sort of breaks the mold of what a drum machine can do.
So would we ever see a live PA or any type of live performance from you in the future? Would you ever plan something like that?
Yeah, I'd consider it. I've always thought about going that route in some way, shape, or form. But I do all my pieces of equipment are my babies, so I would feel it'd be hard to bring them on the road and stuff. I'd be like, well, no, I have to take them out of their little home. So that's, tricky in that respect. But I would consider doing it. And a lot of the way I do make tracks in the studio, it's very live-oriented, basically. It's just that I haven't really thought about bringing my studio stuff out of my studio. But when I'm doing a mix down, it's all pressing buttons a lot, basically performing live, except I'm not in front of people. But yeah, at some point I might get to that route. But like I said, I just put my gear, so I'm moving it. I'd have to get to separate setup that I can move out. But it'd be easily done, actually.
Well, speaking of the road, where are you headed out these next couple days? I see you have a new tour lined up and some dates.
I'm fortunate. I'm always kind of touring, always on the road. This weekend is Chicago and Kansas City. Chicago, of course, being my old standby favorite spots, being from there. So I'm excited to go back. I'm playing at a place, Spy Bar, this Thursday. I always love playing for Chicago crowd, all my old buddies, and just it's a great house community. Kansas City will be fun on Friday. Just this last week, I was in El Paso and played a good new club in San Francisco called Beatbox. It was really exciting. And then Saturday, I was in L.A., in Hollywood. I like L.A. as well. It's got a good thing. And then let's see, what else am I off to? Yeah, I'm pretty much booked up to the new year at the moment. Going to Japan in December, which I'm excited to go back to Tokyo. Play at a place called 11. It used to be called Yellow in Tokyo. Next weekend, after this weekend, I'll be in Austin. And yeah, times are busy. I can't complain about that.
Out of all these places you've been, what would you say is probably your favorite stop besides Chicago, besides going home?
It's hard to say. There's so many great places for different reasons. Just some places that I would go that even if I wasn't playing, that I love. Of course, like just some great cities. I love Tokyo. I would go there if I wasn't booked, if I had the chance, and that's awesome. I love Australia to play, and visit all these places I love to play. But I'm just thinking in terms of where would I go if I wasn't booked somewhere, and that are still amazing. Istanbul, Turkey, it's a great place. London, of course, I've always loved. Glasgow, Scotland, it's a great city. Great music people, and Scottish people are wonderful. I love Canada. I'm going to Vancouver in a couple weeks, which I've been going to Vancouver for 15, 20 years. And just the city, separate from nightlife, which is a good nightlife, but just the city is a wonderful place. It's always hard to pick what is the best place to go, because there's such a combination of venue, people, vibe, and stuff that make up a great thing.
Well, what would you say? You're traveling so much, you got to listen to some music on the plane, in the car, in the bus, wherever you're taking. What would you say you're jamming out these days? Who are some of the producers or DJs? What are you listening to?
Let's see. What am I into? Of course, I like to, I have an iPhone, which allows me to listen to all my promos at all times, which is great. So it's wonderful. Like on the plane, I'm kind of always listening to new stuff because I get new stuff all the time. Let me think. There's some new goodies I like. Of course, Waddy Green. I love his stuff. He's from Tennessee, kind of a swingy guy. Trying to think, Phil Weeks. Really been around forever. Always loved his stuff. Sonny Fodera, an Australian guy. Corduroy Mavericks. There's the group I really like as well. They're from Kentucky. Stuff from all over. Alex Aguello, Auggello. He's a newer producer, makes some great stuff. Some guys from Canada called Jeff Dougler and Baloo, Dougler, and Baloo. A combo with two guys from Ottawa that have been really busting out some great stuff. So yeah, when I'm on the plane, I'm like always kind of going through my homework for the next gig.
What do you do for the next gig? Are you a preparation freak? Do you get all your tracks in a row? This is what I'm playing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you just kind of get there and just feel it out?
Yeah, no, I'd love to do preparation, but I don't do preparation to that extent of like, I'm going to start with this track and go here, here, here. It's more like I'm just kind of compiling an arsenal of weapons to have with me for the gig, that as much as I can have, to be prepared to go in any different direction. And, of course, there's all the new homework that needs to be done, in terms of new tracks. But then I also like going through different, 15 years, 20 years of house that exist and pulling out little gems that I can bust out that might not have been hard. But I never know where I'm going to start, so it's kind of even like when I walk into a club, it depends on what the person before me is playing. And, of course, because I like Chicago, for example, since I've been playing there since I was 16, since the 80s, I'd have a different set of rules or parameters than, say if I was playing in, El Paso where I played last week. It's like different years of experience and gigs will lead me to choose different things from, I kind of do it geographically. I think about where I played last time in a city, how many times I played, what type of stuff, and, what type of crowd is going to be there. So I always like to feel it out. I think, within house, which, the house I still play, I just call it Chicago House, which kind of is an open, it includes a lot of different subgenres of house, just be within Chicago House. So there's a lot of different angles you can take. You can be more tracky. You can be, have more samples. You can be more, play some crossover acapellas of things. I don't know. There's so many different ways to take that can still lead a crowd in different ways. I try and feel it out and see what people are into that given night.
Well, that sounds great, Mark. So how can we find you? You're on the YouTube, the Twitter. What's the best way for everybody to kind of get a hold of you?
Let's see. Well, there's, of course, djmarkfarina.net, which has all my information. And there's twitter.com/djmarkfarina. And then there's youtube.com/dopedenproductions, Productions, which is my management. You can find all kinds of stuff there.
Are you a big Twitter guy? Do you Twitter all the time?
Yeah, I like to tweet. Yeah, I try and stay on top of my tweets. It's a kind of a fun little release. I always enjoy including little knickknacks, photos, travel bits, set times, any bit of detail that peeps might or might not find interesting. It's a great way just to reach out to fans that, aren't right there in front of you in real life. And you can reach out to your cyber fans one-on-one. Like, I've just met a lot of people who have contacted me, and I just like to hit people up that I don't even know and say, hey, if they ask a question, I try and get back to most of them.
What is the weirdest tweet you've probably have ever gotten?
I got a tweet once saying, I had your baby, or something like that. And I was like, what? I'm like, what baby? And it was just a joke, but that was kind of strange, though. I'm like, okay.
Oh, there's cyber babies out there.
Yeah. So I would say that would probably be the hottest tweet that someone has sent me.
Wow. Well, we got a mix from you. We're about to play that. And, Mark, enjoyed the conversation. Let's definitely touch base. And I'd try to catch up later on and find out more what goes on with you.
Thanks for fitting me in.
Hey, man, we appreciate you taking the time out and coming to talk to everybody. We're going to put up all your information in the chat room. And